He did it. The Mad Lad actually did it. Donald John Trump is now your next president of the United States. Not only the 45th, but the 47th, winning a return to the political scene that is truly quite stunning, and doing so in an absolute blowout akin to that of a Reagan era landslide. This really does highlight the fact of the shifting cultural dynamics within the country, and truly highlights that so many people are simply tired of the standards of the uniparty industrial complex. They have no desire to acquiesce to the demands of a government that does not serve them, and they are fucking tired of it. So now let's jump into the electoral college map and see what we've got going on with this race and how it ended up closing out. Here we see from the New York Times, Donald Trump taking it with 295 at the current moment to Kamala Harris's 226, with Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin not officially being registered, but alas, this is a victory for Donald Trump. And watching these states tick over into red was truly something quite fascinating to see, especially when you saw things like North Carolina shift after what had happened with that absolutely horrific storm. Initially, what we saw going on with Virginia. Virginia was red early in the night, which I will admit I was surprised, but nonetheless, as we could see, it had shifted blue, and Pennsylvania being the biggest factor as to what got Donald Trump elected because of the relevancy of these swing states. We can see that actions from people like Scott Pressler, getting over 100,000 people in the Amish community in Pennsylvania registered to vote Republican for Donald Trump, very well may have been one of the biggest factors as to what got him elected. And with that said, it truly makes me wonder what position Scott Pressler will be taking in the future when it comes to propelling the standards of the GOP and the Republican base, because if he's someone who had power such as this to swing this many people behind Donald Trump, to get that many individuals registered to vote, my goodness, who knows what he could do with an organization under his name rather than just being a man as a foot soldier going around doing this independently. It is truly quite stunning, but the thing that I think is even more stunning would be the revelation of understanding that Kamala Harris didn't outperform Joe Biden in any of the counties across the entire country. That's right, not one.
Are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
By 3% or more.
And there you have CNN pundit Jake Tapper, effectively dumbfounded and left speechless at the fact that Kamala Harris didn't outperform Joe Biden in any of the counties across the entire country. And why might that be? Well, it's not only because of the fact that she's such an unpopular candidate, but we can also see that it very well may allude to the nefarious nature of what was going on in the 2020 election. And I was never someone who claimed that it was stolen. I was more so in the camp that it was fortified and rigged from the jump, not that it was taken in real time, which is something that many people don't really like to address, the fact of that Donald Trump under his presidency allowed for the fortification of the systems that would be used against him. That's not a conversation people would like to have, but nonetheless we see with that astronomical record vote total of the 2020 election, well, we could most certainly expect even more people to be voting in 2024, especially considering the propaganda has only ramped up in mass. And with that fact stated, we now know what? That of course, even more people would be tilted against the evil orange man, the current Hitler of the 21st century, which of course, as we know, based on the fact of the narratives that get sold by the corporate press, there is always a new Hitler. It's just about the fact of who it is that they need to turn you against. So the thing that I just would love to absolutely pay attention to here would be something that Jake Tapper truly shows a perfect example of, and that would be the total detachment from reality that so many people that live within the liberal media zeitgeist are stuck in and cannot escape, and also cannot reflect on the fact of why it is that they can escape or why people think the way that they do. Because what we can see is that they were in for a brutal and abrupt awakening with the Trump presidency, and with the massive swing that we've seen behind him with this Reagan era landslide. Well, it would seem that there was a good old liberal pundit who's in the independent media landscape, specifically one of these debate bros, that was making comments that I thought was so fucking hilarious, solely for the fact that it truly showed how detached this man was from an understanding of what we were grappling with. Because in many ways, this truly does show the mindset of the entirety of the liberal class when it comes to those who have been so completely captured by the narrative that is espoused by the establishment. Here we see from Destiny, the omni-liberal, in 2 days, one group of people is in for the most brutal reality check in recent US history. Yeah, that's right, Destiny. You. And you might think that with a statement such as that and a result such as this, that one might, for just a moment, have a bit of self-reflection to take in the fact that I, Destiny, may very well have been part of the classification of individual who is detached from reality. But no, of course, that won't be the case. What will be happening is someone like Destiny and many others who espouse the same nonsensical dribble from their mouths into the political landscape as he does so consistently will do nothing more than cope and seethe, as we see here from this tweet, as he says Biden has 2 more months to continue accelerating the US economy so that Republicans can take credit for it. Isn't that just remarkable? Once again highlighting that it does not matter how hard reality slaps him down in the face, Destiny will always reject it in favor of pushing nothing more than bullshit, because that is all he has the capacity to espouse. He is a very good speaker, he is very fast in debate when it comes to how quick-witted he is, but with that stated, he's never actually trying to truly have an open and honest dialogue. He's simply trying to tack on more things onto the board so that he can sit there and get the proverbial win in the eyes of the audience. That is it and nothing more. He is not an honest actor, and anyone who has seen how he operates is very well aware of this. Speaking of people who operate just as Destiny does, here we can see going on to Michael J. Stern, CNN has a story titled, "Where the Harris Campaign Went Wrong." Nope, I won't read it. Harris ran a great campaign. The story should be titled, "Where the American People Went Wrong." Yeah, that's right. This is the mindset of the liberal class and the corporate media. They have no capacity to reflect on the fact that they themselves are the problem. Here we can see from Layla Downing, "That's why you keep losing. You won't listen to people. You aren't tolerant. You don't protect women or American citizens." Now jumping on to Ken Klippenstein, here we see something that I thought was remarkable because Shannon Watts once again proving her fealty to the regime and her complete and total ineptitude in understanding why people think the way that they do, or what they think as a whole. And I had this tweet saved, which Shannon Watts actually ended up deleting, but shout out to Ken Klippenstein for screenshotting this. Thank you, my good man. Here we see it says, "It is important that nothing be learned from this," because nothing will be learned when it comes to the fact of this loss. All they will do is double down and continue to ramp up the rhetoric that the half of the country, or the large denomination of the country, let's say, that voted for Donald Trump, is nothing more than the problem, and that they, the noble arbiters of truth, are the only things that could possibly save civil society itself, when they are nothing more than the people who are destroying the very fabric of it. Here we see from Shannon Watts, "Kamala Harris was not a flawed candidate. America is a flawed country." And you could go ahead and make the argument that, yeah, America is a flawed country, especially when it comes to the fact of calculating our elections, as we see here from Zero Hedge. Sorry to beat a dead horse, but can we go back to what happened here? I wonder what they might be talking about. Oh, it's looking at the Democrat and Republican popular vote totals, and as we can see, consistently being even when it comes to the fact of the Democratic vote totals 2012, 2016, and 2024. But randomly in 2020, we see this astronomical blow up of people that ended up voting in the election, which is genuinely quite stunning, and it makes you wonder, is it the fact that we had more people voting in this election, or was there a rampant amount of fraud and malfeasancy that was going about that ended up causing this to happen? Do we know? No. Will we ever have full confirmation? No, because the establishment will never do an investigation into itself to determine that it did something wrong. Jumping on now, here we see the total numbers for the Democratic vote totals. throughout the entirety of the 20th century for these elections. Here we see actually it doesn't have 2000, but nonetheless, you get my point. Here we see in 2004, John Kerry with 59 million, Obama with 69.5 million in 2008. In 2012, Obama had 65.9 million, Clinton in 2016 was 65.9 million, Biden in 2020 with 81.3 million, and Harris in 2024 with 66.4 million. Is that not unbelievable? Because what we can see is there's very clearly a discrepancy here that needs to be addressed. But of course, as we know, unless we have real independent investigations as to what's going on here with this, we'll never get a real answer, and they will sweep it over the rug unless Donald Trump's ego goes awry in seeing a number such as this and really wants to send the investigative team down a rabbit hole that would be most interesting and most illuminating for the American people to have that information delivered to them, which I would argue, even in doing so, it does not matter for so many people because individuals like Destiny exist. And what does that mean? That it doesn't matter how hard reality slaps them down in the face, they will still gladly sidestep it and completely remove themselves from the fact of having to address it. Now here we see from John Pavlovitz, how can we have had record turnout and 20 million fewer votes cast nationally? I wonder how that could possibly be. Maybe you should start doing some soul searching and asking some questions, because the thing that I thought was most intriguing was seeing some posts that went nuclear on Reddit before they were removed by the moderators saying, look, I'm a lifelong Democrat, but these numbers just simply don't make sense. Did we actually cheat in 2020? And these are simply honest people that believed the narrative that the corporate press was espousing, that the regime was putting forward about the evils of Donald Trump and so many. Well, it appears that these honest people are now asking honest questions, and in doing so, will most certainly be smacked down and excommunicated from the field of relevance within that of the liberal zeitgeist, because how dare you ask questions such as this? Jumping on now to Clint Russell, here we see. It sure is strange that 13 million less Democrats voted in 2024, given that in both elections they were voting against literally Hitler. Is he not Hitler now? Was he slightly less Hitler? Did they prefer Biden, the old brain-dead white guy, more than the brilliant black woman? Odd. Something I would like to touch on real quick when it comes to the fact of the narrative surrounding Donald Trump. Think of the hysteria that had unfolded within 2016 after he was elected. Okay, now what I need you to do is ramp that up in kind, because here's the thing. They only had roughly 2 years to propagandize the people with the fact that Donald Trump is effectively the modern-day Austrian painter with the funny mustache. Well, what do we see? Now they've had over 8 years to do that. So the hysteria that so many people have been whipped up into is so unbelievable and untenable for people who are actually grappling with existence in the fashion that it is, that when you see how these people act and their reaction to things like the 2024 election, it's very apparent that there is going to be a psychological disturbance that unfurls within the nation that will be registerable on the Richter scale. It will be so fucking massive. Families will be destroyed, as we are already seeing videos going awry across social media of people talking about how they cut off people within their family, whether it be their cousins, their boyfriends. Families losing their ability to stay together, fathers not having the capacity to stay with their children because there is such a deep division driven within their homes because of the political landscape and the lies that have been sold to the American people, specifically by the corporate press surrounding the topic about Donald Trump and his followers effectively being nothing more than Nazis. It is unbelievable, but the thing that is even more unbelievable to me would be some of the standards espoused by some of these people that claim to just laugh at the right wing as they do nothing more than cope. Because here we can see from right-wing cope, this is unironically worse than 9/11. This is real. And then he ended up putting out a post afterwards saying, guys, why is everyone geeking out over politics? I was talking about the new Lil Uzi album. The second plane in this case was Galaxy Gas. So, the thing that I find most remarkable is the complete and utter removal from trying to even deal with what your opposition thinks. And you can say the same thing for some people on the right that have no capacity or even desire to try and deal with anyone on the left and extend the olive branch to reach out and build that bridge so you can have the conversation and truly build the unity party. And in doing so, you would be able to make real change and change real people's minds. But here's the thing. You actually have to be willing to step up to the plate and do that work that is necessary. And someone who understands this is Ian Carroll. Good old Cancel Cloco. If you are unfamiliar, please go give him a follow. Link in the description down below. I cannot recommend him enough. He is one of the best people that we have in the independent media landscape. Here we see. Unpopular opinion. Trump voters, now is the time to walk the walk. This is the unity party. If you want to heal this country, you need to show real love and compassion to liberals and Democrats. You need to talk to them, listen to them, prove to them that what the media said about Trump was lies. What they said about Trump supporters was lies. You can't mock them for calling you garbage and then act like garbage because you won. Their greatest success in Trump's first term was creating TDS. It is up to every Trump supporter to live out the counter-narrative to their lies. Make America Great Again is inseparable from dismantling the divisive psyop that Trump supporters are mean, uninformed Nazis. Be the bigger person, build the bridge, and welcome someone across. Otherwise, 4 years from now, America is even more divided and even more in danger. No excuses. Might be something that some people don't want to hear after years of being lambasted and bastardized endlessly by not only the media, but the people who have so consistently consumed the bullshit that they have peddled. And in the end, I can understand the desire to not want to build the bridge, to not want to interact with these people. But you have to understand the onus is on you to change these people's minds. Those of whose minds can at least still be changed. And with that, those who cannot, that's fine. Cast them into irrelevancy because that is what they are. Fucking irrelevant. And that's okay. Because you don't need to change everyone's minds. Just the people who are sane enough to still try and have a tenuous grasp on reality. And with that understanding of the few people within the liberal media that very well might just have that bit of a grasp on reality still, well, we can understand that they won't be there long if the corporate press is still going to operate in the fashion that they do. Because what I saw on the night of the election on CNN's panel was quite stunning. Not only did we see the fact of Van Jones and Anderson Cooper sitting there getting lambasted by this man, which I do not know the name of, I do not expect him to be at CNN for long, but we can see that they had no rebuttal. They had absolutely nothing, and it was because they knew they couldn't say anything of any credibility to sell the merits of what it is that they had been pushing for so long, because this man was so on point. And like I said, because of that fact of him being so on point, I do not expect him to be on CNN for much longer.
This is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote for a Republican for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids, and they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. I mean, we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line, and we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough.
He's absolutely right. This is a mandate against the current political establishment, and people have been told to be quiet and shut up because their problems aren't real issues, because the only problems that actually matter are the ones that bother the regime most. And inflation and the consistent influx of illegal immigrants that will only cause more economic turmoil down the line is most certainly not a problem to the government, considering they have printers for the money that they will use to subsidize all of these people. Meanwhile, they are then destroying the money that you use because they are devaluing your dollar through things like inflation. And not only that, they are also then taxing you into poverty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it there, but just before I do, I wanted to finish it off with this post here from Thomas Massey. They tried to impeach him, silence him, convict him, and shoot him. Trump survived all of it, so they overturned their own election in a soft coup on President Biden. And he beat them anyway. We beat them. We must not squander this moment in history. The fight has just begun. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you for watching. If you got this far, thumbs up. If you liked it, thumbs down. If you didn't, tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section down below. Stay lovely, stay great, and most importantly, my friends, as always, please go tell someone you love them. Peace out.